I know. I feel like the podcast already started 20 minutes ago.
I mean, I could build this in. I'm already recording.
Some bonus material. So, you mentioned, what'd you just say? Vegan savages don't wait for luck; they make their own.
Vegan savages don't get lucky; they make their own luck.
Yeah, dude. That message right there to me is huge. Like, I'm all about that. I remember, and I see it a lot with my friends that are trying to get into finding their passion or finding what they love. They're like waiting around. They're like, I want to be an actor. I want to do this or that. Whatever you want to do, you have to go create it. You have to get up and like literally put in the work to create the opportunity, create the luck. Like, yeah, I do think luck is involved, but you have to be moving towards a position where luck can happen. Like, you got to put yourself out there. You got to attempt.
Exactly.
You got to go for it.
And that's why I made it a mantra for me. And I have a couple of mantras. I always repeat. These are just simple laws. They work. They're like, follow your highest excitement. What you put out is what you get back.
Yeah.
And I repeat them. I always sneak them in my vlogs. Or not sneak them, but really in your face. And I see how greatly it is received. People write all the mantras down, post it, make sticky notes, and really do it. Really execute, take action on the mantras.
Yeah.
And that just warms my heart. And we are already live. So, I'm here at the Maverick House next to Spencer. And thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for,
You hosted me in Germany.
I did.
That was like, 4 or 5 months ago, right? Or was it even more than that?
Something like that.
It was while I was out for my Ironman. And then I stopped by. And then I also went to Finland as well, I think, right?
No, you went back to here after that. You were like, oh, I'm excited to go back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, way too short. It was just one night. I was like, oh, I can hang out with him.
And my family's all German. Like, my ancestors are all German.
Oh, nice.
So, I want to spend more time in Germany. I want to, like, really get to know it.
Because the day you were there was super nasty. Like, the weather, so I told you, in the summer, weather's gorgeous. The city... What's like in Germany, it transforms. Like here, it's like the same year round, pretty much. But in Germany, it really transforms. Winter, grey, cold. It gets dark early, and in the summer, blooming. People are outside. The city is so alive, and just colorful and epic. So in the summer,
I'll have to
make
check
a trip, and I show you all the good places.
Definitely.
All right, so I asked my vegan savages for questions, and I got some good one, and I have many things I'm interested in.
Let's see. So, I'm down.
My thumb doesn't.
Got my vegan hot cocoa, so.
Oh yeah, we're trying.
Nice and relaxed.
The new product from Vivo Life, but I don't give it away yet. How I like it because I get a huge delivery in Germany, and then I tell you everything about that, the ingredients.
Taste test.
Oh, you spilled it.
I spilled a little bit.
Okay. So in my podcast, there's not like a big introduction. We just get right to the juicy.
Let's do it, bro.
Into the questions.
Let's get into the juice.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you if you do a Impaulsive podcast today, but it's already cancelled.
No, we're doing a 9 p.m. So we have the real Tarzan coming on, who is, I'm really excited to interview him.
How old is he now?
I don't know how old he is, but he's big on promoting animal rights and promoting, like awareness to endangered species. And I've actually, I rarely do this, bro, but I actually commented on one of his photos because I think people who are really like animal activists, I always kind of like to push them a little bit. I'm against going out of my way to push veganism on a lot of people, but if someone's claiming they're an animal activist, I kind of feel like I have a little more of an in to push them a little bit. So I've actually, I know he's open to veganism and vegetarianism, but I definitely have some good questions for him tonight.
Yeah, that's good. Because that's the thing. You're not an animal lover if you're just rescuing or caring about some species. But if you really love animals, then you wouldn't eat them. Right. So it's if you're an animal lover, then you love all animals. But many people say like, oh, I'm an animal lover, I love my dog. No, you're a dog lover, cat lover. But if you really, and it's not about loving animals, it's about respecting other beings, I always say. You just wouldn't eat animals. But people, step by step, everyone is on their own journey, making the connection. Like recently this guy, he was his work was protecting one sort of species, and he comes home and eats another sort of species, and then he made the connection like, oh, this is so off. So he's hopefully on his way too.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it's like a really attractive thing to do, to support endangered species, but I think it's just a difficult concept for people to grasp that one of the most powerful things you can do to protect our planet, to protect animals, is to not support big animal agriculture businesses and practices. I'm actually not crazy against hunting or people getting their own meat in a sustainable way, like where there's overpopulation of deer back in my hometown of Michigan. I know that if you let the deer population get out of control, then it can actually ruin the whole entire ecosystem. So there, you're taking meat in a way that's not damaging the environment, it's actually protecting it. And I know a lot of people who that's the only meat they eat. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any hate towards them. I don't do that. I think there's a way to do it without doing that. But at the end of the day, I think vegans should compromise a little bit as well. Like we were talking about, like I wasn't vegan for the first like 20 plus years of my life, like 21 years of my life, so even more, 22. So how can I judge people in that time frame that are eating meat or doing whatever they want to do? Like I didn't think twice about what I was putting in my body having an effect on me. I saw what old people looked like. I saw, the process of aging, and I was like, oh, that's normal. That's just like, that's going to happen to me one day.
And you have to understand where the problem, where the biggest impact lies. People hunting, hunting their own meat, that's not a problem. Yeah. But what is the elephant in the room is factory farming, animal agriculture. That is accountable for over 98% of all animal products. Yep. That is the elephant in the room. That is destroying the rainforest, pollutes our earth, takes over 50% of the fresh water, and it's just that is the elephant in the room. So you have to see where the problem is. But then, not if everyone would hunt, that would become the problem. So you have to go to the root and really, why do we even? Yeah, that's why. Yeah. Anyway,
I think this is definitely a tangent, but I think on that note, I think like anybody out there who's getting their meat from, like they themselves killed the animal. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna hate them. I'm not gonna disrespect them. I'm not gonna disrespect anybody. That's not the goal. But
what about if they kill a lion? And
that's a whole different story. I think that's like that's going against the natural flow of nature. I think you're taking away an animal that
is endangered.
Yes. I think that's terrible. I think those types of people deserve to be prosecuted by the law.
You always have to see the circumstances they're in. Like the Inuits, they're living. They just need to hunt in order to survive. So they eat animal products a lot, and it's a great example because it's showing how unhealthy they actually are, because of only eating animal products, but because the circumstances require that.
Yeah.
Or if you decide to live somewhere in the wilderness and then you hunt and gather, but like most people living in a society, we have supermarkets available most of the hours and have a fully equipped grocery store, and then it becomes a choice. And then if it's unnecessary, and then what you find in the grocery store, it's not like hunted meat from someone, no, it's from factory farms, and then that is where the whole problem lies. But I think it's cool that you have such a huge spectrum of guests on Impaulsive. Yeah. So first of all, if you don't know what Impaulsive is, it is the podcast from Spencer, Logan, and Mike, and it's the #1 podcast.
It's true.
This
is the #2 podcast.
That's what I wanted to say.
Well, this is the #1 vegan podcast. We're the #1.
It is, yeah.
Comedy podcast.
Yeah, both not a scientific fact, but it sounds cool, so that's the fact there. And the question is about Impaulsive.
Yeah.
How did it change your life?
Impaulsive, that's a deep question. I haven't actually really thought about that.
Because I feel like you evolved a lot.
Oh my god, bro, so much. I think for me, it was the confidence. Like, confidence is still something that I'm working on. Just having confidence to put myself out there and not care about what other people think. Because I think when I got on Impaulsive, that was the first time I really actually received like a lot of hate on the internet and not like a lot, like the majority of it was love, but I got a wave of like people who disagreed with things that I said, or people who thought I was a pussy for being vegan, or being weak for saying certain things. So that was kind of like a culture shock. I was like, whoa, like, seeing it kind of shook me, but then I learned how to overcome that. I learned how to kind of break through to the other side and be like, okay, you know what? This doesn't matter at all, because very few people that watch the video, like, we'll have like 1 million views on an episode and there will be 10,000 comments or 7,000 comments. Like, at the end of the day, the majority of people that watch and support you don't talk. They don't comment. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to make your assumptions about what people think of you based off of comments online, or somebody throwing some hate at you here and there, it's not a healthy mental practice. So I think that's the biggest way that it's changed my life. Is I think for my mental health, I've learned just to not take things so seriously, like not hold on to those things.
And I see that you become more confident, more out there, more yourself, and that is great. And you really make the podcast round, because sometimes it just gets nonsense, stupid direction, and then you just throw in a meaningful question in there, and then boom, and then it's actually a good topic, and so you just add a lot to the podcast. I'm not sure if I would be that regular of a listener if it wouldn't be of you. So I think that's a really great dynamic, and I really enjoy it, because it's just a podcast that is really easy to listen to, because many of the other podcasts I consume, they're more, you have to pay much more attention, and your podcast is like my gym podcast, because it's easy to listen to, and I get so much out of it in terms of how really influential people live. You just know, wow, they're super famous, but you don't know how they actually are. And you just immediately, like, no bullshit, how much money do you earn, this and that, and you really bring them to a point where you see, hey, is this a cool dude or not? And otherwise you just have this image of someone, don't really know what this person's about.
Our whole goal with Impaulsive was to make these people that we're interviewing human. And I think that's like, it's great to hear you say that, because it shows that we are succeeding in that in a way, because like you said, I think there's these images that people post on social media of who they are, how they live their life, but then when we get them on the show, it's like you see who this person really is, like just like that. And I think that's really important.
And the variety, like, it's not about this niche or something, it's all over the place. Like recently, if you don't know Impaulsive and you want an episode to start with, James Espy, that was amazing. I saw it, I was like, no way they have James Espy on it.
That dude's next level.
I had him on my podcast too. It's insane. This guy, I told him, you're the person who can articulate himself the best I know. I know.
Super educated, and I think in terms of like a vegan activist, I think he's the example. Like, if you're gonna do it, you do it, but he does it in a way where he's constantly trying to be relatable, and he's not, at the end of the day, he's not judging. He's just simply laying out facts that he's very, he believes in. And I think if you're going to be a vegan activist, don't just be vegan for a year and then watch a documentary and start talking to all your friends and family about it. Like, really immerse yourself in it. Really get to know it. Like, stick to it for a few years and, like, know what the heck you're talking about. And he's honestly, like you said, he's one of the best out there, I think. That's
what I did. Before I started social media, I was educating myself for years. So that when people come with me, or I can debunk all the myths, all the stereotypes, and that I can actually educate people because I know what's up. And he does it in a such chill and non-judgmental way, where he's like super chill, but he just doesn't make it like blaze it down how horrible factory farming is. He tells you in details. Like, I'm not there, I don't go into details like that, but he does, but still on a non-judgmental way. He just tells you what it is. No bullshit. And
that's his lane. And I think that, like I was saying, he sticks to that lane so well. And he I think if you're a vegan and you want to do something good to the planet, find a lane and stick to it. Don't try to be all over the place. Like, he's in that lane, he knows it, and he is going all in with it, which it's a very uncomfortable topic. Like, very uncomfortable. I remember when I first started learning about what's going on in farms and like, yo, this is the food I'm eating. I was like, it really messed with me. I was like, damn, dude, this, like, what else do I not know? Like, what else am I being a little bit ignorant of, or like choosing to not pay attention to?
But Impaulsive, great podcast. I see a bright future for that, because you really, the aspect of entertainment is huge. An awesome podcast. And many podcasts, super informative, but a bit boring. That's why the Joe Rogan Experience is so popular, because he's a comedian. He keeps it fun, but it's at the same time you learn a lot, and you do the same, and you're even more entertaining. So I'm excited for the future, and all the people I'm telling, like, listen to this episode, they get hooked on it, and how can you not to? So yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's crazy. We're on like episode 56, I believe, and you know, Joe Rogan has like 1,300, something like that. So it's gonna be cool to see once we get into like 400 or 500, like, see where it's at.
Oof, that will be. Yeah. I cannot wait. All right, so. And I listened to all of them so far, besides the hunting one. I was a bit, but I will get to this. Now, I want to switch the topics, about the Iron Man.
Yeah.
When and where?
For the next race?
Yeah.
I actually have one coming up this Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, I've got one in just a few days. And it's going to be in Oceanside, which is down by San Diego. So it's like 2 hours from here, south. Yeah. And
it will be a half Ironman?
Yeah, this is a half Ironman. I did one Ironman before this in Italy, so that was a full 140.6 mile, and then this particular Ironman, the half Ironman, is 70.3 miles.
Okay, now here's the juicy question.
Yeah.
After doing a full Ironman, what makes you want to suffer that much again?
Yeah, dude, honestly, halfway through my first Ironman, I was like, yo, I don't want to do this. Like, this sucks. But then once you break through that mental, it's really hard to explain. It's honestly giving me goosebumps. But once you break through that mental barrier of, like, just, you're completely done. Like, mentally, you're like wanting to give up, you're wanting to quit, but then you break through it. You unlock this energy that's like insane. Like, when I crossed the finish line, even though my body was like tired and shut down, I had gotten past it and pushed beyond a limit that I even knew I could go to, and it opened up my energy. It unleashed an energy where, leaving that first Ironman, every aspect of my life got better. Like, every single aspect of my life, because I found what I'm really capable of. Because I think Rich Roll talks about this all the time, and so many people talk about it, but like, we're only operating at a fraction of a percent of what we're capable of doing. And I think you hear that all the time, but once I did the Ironman, it was like, holy shit, like, I could do way more. And so the reason why I do more is because that practice of training for it, of continuing to seek out a new race and a new place to travel to do it, there's just something about it that drives me to become, strive for the best version of myself.
And I can relate to that to a smaller degree, and I can or cannot imagine how great it is to your extent. Let me explain. My small degree is in Bali. I did a lot of CrossFit with my friends, and they really pushed me, and I did some woods, like, I did the hardest trainings I've done in my life there. And the feeling afterward, like, you pushed through a barrier, you thought you were not capable or you never went to this place, and afterwards you just feel great, and you feel so proud of yourself, and you know how capable you actually are. And now my trainings, not all of them, but most, are a bit more intense. I just, because I know how hard I can get, and I felt so great, so I just want to push a bit more out of each training. And that is a small extent, because going like a full Ironman, that is crazy, and pushing yourself so much, you see basically there are no boundaries. You can go to such great points, and then, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, transfer this one thing into other careers and other aspects in life. So
yeah, exactly. I think he's a really cool example of what's possible when you push yourself within the gym, to be able to, you know, be a mayor or a governor of a whole state. I think it's cool, and I think people who are some of the most successful people. You did.
He didn't talk to me.
No.
He was like, I was like,
he's in his zone.
Hey, and he was like, no. I was like, no hi. He was like, no hi.
Really?
Yeah. But then his friend came up to me and told me in the gym he doesn't talk to people, only when he goes in and out. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah. I'm such a dummy, because if you were such a celebrity, all people come to you.
Done, dude.
Exactly. He's there to work out. And I was like, oh, what a dummy, but for the vlog. So,
yeah. It takes that level of dedication. But yeah, back to the point of, you know, people like him and like what you're doing, to be able to push yourself in the gym like that, it translates. Like, whatever the sport is, it doesn't have to be an Ironman. You don't have to do a full Ironman or half Ironman to access that mental clarity and that energy. You can be in the gym and be just pushing yourself past a limit. You know, you're all about Vegains. Like, you're all about gaining. You're all about pushing the limits. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, what it's about. For me, how I connect with that is an Ironman.
Yeah, and in literally every aspect, because we're all about progress and building a startup, getting really successful, selling it for a couple $1 million. Wow, what is possible? Like, in every aspect, and I recommend, follow your eyes' excitement, find out what your passions are, and really pursue them like crazy, because if it's really your passion, you don't stop, and you just go to a crazy level, and then you just get a new perspective about everything, what is just possible.
Exactly.
Someone asked, because I built Vegan Savage questions in here as well, the classic question, it's boring, but we just need to cover it. Why did he go vegan, and when?
Yeah.
Classic.
No, yeah, it is. I went vegan almost 4 years ago, and the question is when and why, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why I went vegan? It was kind of like a multitude of reasons that all just like came together at the perfect timing. I met a Shaolin Temple descendant, and I was fascinated by this guy. Was in his 30s, but he looked like he was in his 20s. And then I met his father, who was in his 60s. So they were 5th and 6th generation Shaolin Temple descendants. And his father was in his 60s, but he could still, like, you know, he does martial arts all the time, so he could still kick his leg all the way over his head. Like, he was more flexible than I was, and I was in my 20s. You know, and just what he was able to do with his body in his 60s, I was like, wait a minute, like, this dude's actually really healthy. So, like, what he's saying is, I'm gonna take it for being very legit, because I have never seen someone as healthy as he was for his age. And so I went out to a dinner with one of them, and I just started picking their brain. And they started sharing a lot of the facts about, you know, vegan, and they started telling me, just helping me become aware of the negative effects that meat and dairy have on the human body. And I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. Like, it just made sense. So I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to go vegan. So I just went vegan on the spot. From that day, I've never had meat.
Did you set yourself a challenge, like, just for a month, just to see, or did you just go?
It just clicked for me, man. I don't know why. It just clicked. I did go vegetarian more so on accident, just because I was like, okay, I'm not eating meat. Definitely cutting that out. But there was still a couple things, like, I would have a muffin or something, and I would not know there was eggs in it. But yeah, I was having some health issues at the time, and I swam in college, and since I quit college, I just wasn't working out. I wasn't motivated to do anything, so I gained a little bit of weight. I was just out of shape, and you know, I was having some issues with just minor things, but I was like, man, I'm in my 20s. Like, why do I feel like this? I don't feel like I'm young. And then, yeah, once I switched to going vegan, I started getting, like, massive amounts of energy back. And I was like, I felt like I could do so much more. and so I stuck with it.
That's great. Now I could ask endless questions about like diet, nutrition, but the question I like to ask to get a good view of your diet as a vegan Ironman athlete is, could you guide us through a full day of eating, like from breakfast to your last meal, what you eat on a like the most typical day?
Most typical day. Yeah. So for us, we're pretty blessed. We have a chef here at the house, so that definitely is
that is
great.
Like the checkpoint.
We need that because if we
and
were,
she's good. She's really good.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's phenomenal. She cooks us vegan food. She also cooks meat for the guys. But I would say on a typical day, I'll usually get started off with like oatmeal or like a breakfast hash. So I'll do like sweet potatoes, like just mixed greens and maybe some tofu or tempeh or something like that. So I get my protein in, or some quinoa.
So either oatmeal or that, or both?
Yeah, either or. If I'm like training like really heavily one day, I'll probably have both because I need to get those calories back. Yeah. But then I think for lunch, it's hard because she's really like mixing stuff up. She doesn't do the same thing very often.
So, do you tell her what you want, or does she just make something?
I'm a little more picky too than the average vegan because studying with the Shaolin Temple descendants, they don't eat any onion or garlic or tomato. So they're on a whole food, plant-based, alkaline diet. So the onions and the garlic and the tomatoes are acidic, more acidic.
You also don't eat them?
No, I do, but very, very little amounts.
I should tell you about those, how healthy they are.
I know they have health benefits, but also some of the people who live the oldest in the world don't eat them. So, like, what I studied was people like on Okinawa or like the China study. A lot of like Buddhist vegetarian doesn't have onion and garlic, so that's why you see like contains onion and garlic in it for a lot of restaurants, because Buddhist vegetarians aren't allowed to eat those because garlic can thin the blood, and then onions can also do some damage on the lungs. So
actually the research is crazy how beneficial they are, and what you're referring to, it's the blue zones. We studied places around the world where people live the longest, and we call the places the blue zones. Yeah. Just because they use the blue circling them, that's why they're called that way. Anyway, but many of the blue zones, like for example the 7 Days Adventists, they actually live here in California. They eat onion and garlic too, and they are crazy healthy. They're one of the blue zones. Not all of them who live the longest don't eat onion and garlic.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's just a lot. They're just crazy rich in antioxidants and phytonutrients. It's insane. So I think I made a post about it recently. I will send you that with all the research.
Yeah, I did see that. I don't fully disagree that they're not healthy. I do. There are issues that can be created if you have too much of them. That's like I know that. I know. I'm
suspicious. You send me the research, okay?
Well, the Shaolin Temple descendants are the ones who created veganism. Mm-hmm. Like they're the ones who really like brought it to a holistic approach of we're integrating this with martial arts. We're integrating this with really intense activity. And so when I know from just experimenting too, whenever I eat onions or garlic or tomatoes are more obvious because there's a lot of acid in them, my joints, I feel it in my joints when I'm going on these extended bike rides or extended runs. But when I cut those out, and you can still get those same nutrients that are in onions and garlic and tomatoes from other vegetables.
Yeah, that's the thing. Eating onion garlic doesn't make you healthier, or unhealthy. It's for me, I'm convinced that they're healthy whole food, so I eat them basically on a daily because I know how healthy they are, and I truly believe that. And if you research, send it my way, because that's the thing. Only if some people have done it for a long time doesn't mean it doesn't justify anything, or it's also the naturalistic fallacy, is it called. Only because something is natural doesn't mean it's good, healthy, bad, wrong, or anything. It just mean we have done it because often we had to, but it doesn't say basically nothing.
Yeah.
So I just know the research about these whole foods, how beneficial they are. But if you have other research,
I think for me it's more so application. I don't have. There are a lot of like Eastern holistic doctors who they have their research and opinions that they've come to and the conclusions they've come to with onion and garlic. For me, I just know when I've cut those out, it's really made a huge impact on my skin, on just my overall, like my joint health. Like that's something, whenever I eat onions, I can feel cracking in my joints sometimes if I'm moving around. And when I cut those things out, because I can get those same nutrients without consuming them from an acidic food. So if I can switch that over to I'm consuming those from, whatever other vegetable, then I'm avoiding the acid that's coming into my body. That onions are acidic, tomatoes are acidic, I'm pretty sure garlic is acidic as well.
I'm not sure if they're acidic because...
tomatoes definitely are. They are, because like if you take a tomato, like some people clean their pans with a tomato because it brings up the grease because of how acidic it is.
But the thing is, it's not about how it is, but how it gets digested. Like all the citrus fruits, for example, lemon seems really acidic, but it's actually not, because it gets digested alkaline. So that's then what matters.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like I'm not saying that they're unnecessarily unhealthy. I've just found a way to get those nutrients in a different way.
They're like not the craziest healthy, so you can easily live without them. Like if people, I don't eat certain things because I just don't like them. Like for example, horseradish is healthy, but I just don't like it. And it's not like that I miss any nutrients because of it. Sure, there's some plant foods that are really rich in certain nutrients, which other foods it's not that much rich in, so you should really eat. Or just some superfoods that are crazy healthy, like if you eat turmeric with pepper, ground flax seeds, just berries, the healthiest fruits, you shouldn't miss out on. But like regular veggies, pick whatever you like and whatever makes you eat the most of it. But what is also huge is actually the placebo and the nocebo. I don't know if you know the book, it's called You Are the Placebo. And that just made me so much more aware, because I was so entrenched in pseudoscience. I avoided gluten for half a year and I felt like I got a brain fog, my stomach was hurting, and you know what it was? It was the nocebo, the opposite of the placebo. And now I'm so cautious when I try something new that I'm always super open-minded and not think that this is good or bad for me, but what is the best available balance of evidence, because I know mind over matter. It's just crazy how real the placebo is. So that's why often people, they think something, and if they think it, it's true. So that's why we really need to be cautious what we think, and that it's in a way that serves us.
Well, and I think there's a balance, because I think if you take that mindset too far, you can also, if I eat McDonald's every day, mind over matter. But no, at the end of the day, like, show me one person who eats McDonald's every day and who is not dying of a heart attack or who is really healthy. Or at least show me a vast majority of those people. So I think you can take that mindset too far. And I've seen it done. I've seen it done where people like, diet doesn't matter, food doesn't matter, it's all my thoughts. And it's like, yeah, dude, but you're unhealthy. Like, you are really unhealthy. Like, your organs are not healthy. And I think that's why I think there's this convergence happening, which it's wild, because when I first went vegan, I was really passionate about Eastern philosophies and Western philosophies coming together. Because I think with Western philosophies, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of just very innovative things that can come from it. But then with Eastern and holistic medicine and all these holistic old ancient teachings, those two are merging right now. And while they merge, there's a lot of sparks flying and tension, and I think that's what's happening right now in the world. And I think, like you're saying, I think it's important to understand that there's a mix between our thoughts and there's a mix between our food. It's not one or the other. It's a mix. It's a blend. You've got to understand both, and you've got to be healthy in both. Because the human body, whether we like to admit it or not, needs nutrients. It needs certain nutrients, and it's not built to break down certain things. So we have to look at the human body, how it's evolving, because the human body is evolving. And we got to say, okay, what are the things that the human body needs? Let's find the most efficient way to consume those.
Yeah. And the amount of meat our biology needs is precisely 0. So, yeah, well said. So, guide us through the day. That is breakfast. Then, what else?
Yeah, so for lunch, I mean, the majority of lunches and dinners are just are like bowls, like what we had when we were in Germany,
Like a
just
Buddha bowl.
like Buddha bowls.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's like kind of my staple. Just making sure like I'm getting the brown rice or the quinoa or like some staple of grain, with some steamed vegetables. Like avocado, sprouts, like, so you got a mix of the whole foods that are cooked, and then you also have some raw food sprinkled on top. And then I really love to just throughout the day, we have a pantry filled with like sunflower seeds, pistachios, almonds, bunch of different nuts. So I try to consume a little bit of those throughout the day as well. And then sometimes I'll do like peanut butter toast or like something like that for a snack throughout the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
And dinner also a bowl like that?
Yeah, dinner usually bowls. Sometimes we'll do like vegan pasta or like pizza. Like yesterday we did vegan gluten-free pizza, which was crazy good. So yeah, luckily in LA we have a lot of like really good vegan cheese.
Yeah. Bowls are just great to cover a lot of nutrients in one meal. Basically, eat out of all groups in one meal. So I always say the 5 groups: fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. You can put them all in a bowl, and it's super delicious. And you covered all of the nutrients. And especially if you mix it, for example, vegetables with a healthy fat source like avocado, nuts, you absorb the phytonutrients so much greater because of the fat source in there. If you eat a salad without any fats, it's like from the phytonutrients you haven't basically eaten the salad because you hardly absorb them. But if you have a fat source in there, phytonutrients just tenfold get greater absorbed. So that's why those bowls are great, and that's like my dinner every day. So now could you guide us through a day of work, because you're training for an Ironman, you work and travel a lot for your upcoming documentary, you film Logan, you are the co-founder of Vibe Source, and I think you work on another documentary, and I believe you got into a relationship recently. So all that, how is like a day of work for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a balance. It's hard to give that one answer because every day is different. Like I don't like to go into a day with a fixed mindset as to what is going to happen. There's certain things, like in terms of a schedule, where I try to fit something in. So like a lot of times for training, when I'm in like a bulk of my training period, I'll really focus on getting up early and getting a good amount of rest, like at least 8 hours of sleep, 7-8 hours. And that way when I wake up, I'm feeling fresh and I can hit my workout. And then around 11 to 12 is usually when we'll have a podcast, or we'll have like, vlog to shoot. And then we'll shoot or, do the podcast or get the majority of our work in here at the house in until like 5 or 6 p.m. So then that gives me the evening to hang out with my girlfriend or, do some more meetings or whatever I got to do. So really it's all about balance. I just try to maximize my time. In between a podcast, I can either be playing a video game or I can be, answering emails and reaching out to companies and brands. So I think, there's waves. Like sometimes I'm like, I need a rest this week. I put in a lot of work last week, or, I think if you get too hung up on your schedule on like, these are the things I got to do and I got to stick to this every day, you're going to burn out. Yeah. And you're not going to have fun with it. So you got to have fun. And I think that's the most important thing is if you have this mindful, healthy lifestyle that you want to strive towards, pick just 1 or 2 very simple things that you can do. And like, that's where you should start off. So for me, it's like meditation. It's a very simple thing to do. 10, 15 minutes a day. Knock that out. And at least you can get one thing in and feel accomplished and feel like you're moving in the right direction. But if you're trying to overwhelm yourself and you're like, okay, I need to be doing this, I need to be making more money, I need to be having a relationship, I need to be training, I need to be working harder, like, you're literally just gonna, it's so unhealthy, it's so counterproductive to do that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much the same. There always needs to be a lot of flexibility to allow yourself to follow your highest excitement. So I have the things I do this day planned, like, okay, I have the Skype call fixed, it's in my calendar, or my training program, so today is upper body training, but then I'm flexible, like, okay, training, doesn't really matter, the gym is open 24 hours, like, you hit me up, I wanted to go to the gym, doesn't matter, I go later to the gym, I'm flexible because this is a great opportunity, this excites me, so I always have this flexibility in there. I know my excitements, my passions, I follow them, but what I do now next is the thing that excites me the most, and keeping the flexibility in there, not having like the super strict schedule unless your job demands you doing that because you're Elon Musk or someone, but keeping things on point, which needs to be on point because you have appointment schedules, you need to be in class, but keep enough room for flexibility to follow your highest excitement, and then you can truly grab opportunities. Yeah. Like, oh no, Spencer, I cannot come because I need to go to the gym, would be like a wasted big opportunity. I just can hit the gym later. So I always recommend having this flexibility to follow your highest excitement.
Yeah, flexibility is key. I agree with everything you said.
So I was right. You got in a relationship.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did.
Good for you.
I did.
Is she vegan too?
She's vegan.
Oh, epic.
Yeah. She's been vegan for like 6 years, I believe.
Oh wow.
She's been vegan for longer than I have.
Before it was cool.
Yeah.
Like we all. Like 4 years ago, it wasn't cool as well. So we're all in there before it was cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now I want to talk a bit about your upcoming documentary.
Yeah.
About education. First, how did you become excited about the idea to create a documentary about education?
Yeah, my experience through education in America, or I grew up in Michigan, so in just like a very rural Midwest city in the United States, it was very traditional and very limiting. So recess for us, we had recess kindergarten through 5th grade, and then recess was just over after 5th grade. Like, we went from being able to be these kids that are having fun and expressing ourselves on the playground and having, you know, in class, like imagining things and drawing, and, you know, we got to 6th grade, and then we're like, oh, we got to start prepping for high school. And then you get to high school and they're like, okay, now you got to start prepping for college. And then you get to college and you're like, okay, now you got to start prepping for a job. And it was like this process where I was like, along the way, thankfully, I was a rebel. I went against the grain. I did not listen to rules. I made my own rules. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. And so I always had people telling me like, oh, you're not going to, you know, you want to do film, like, how are you going to make money? Like, you know, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to monetize that? And inside, I knew that I would, but I couldn't answer them. I couldn't be like, oh, this is, you know, I know it's going to work. I just kind of kept to myself. And so I became a really quiet person, and I still was very energetic and loud, but internally, I was thinking, how am I going to make it work? What am I going to do? And so when I got to college, that's a whole nother story I won't get into, but I had this class where our whole idea, or our whole project, was to come up with a film, a documentary, because you know, that was my passion, and I was going to school at Michigan State to become a documentary filmmaker. And we had a class, and during that class, I realized I want to make a film about education. Like, I want to know why our educational system is the way it is, like what's going on. And so I started researching it, and I had an amazing professor, because by the time the school year was over, I didn't even have a film, but I had done so much research, and so he didn't even make me turn in a project because he was with me the whole time. And so I just, after college, it actually became a project where for the last 5 years, I've just been traveling the country, I've been traveling the world, interviewing different people to learn about education. 5
years it's going on?
5 years.
Oh, wow.
I've been working on this sucker for a long time. So yeah, the passion for it came through my frustration with there's so many kids out there that are discouraged to chase their dreams. And so I get DMs every single day from people who are struggling in life. And we spend 14,000 hours K through 12. We should be coming out of school as a professional. We shouldn't be coming out of school lost.
Totally.
So there's a huge disconnect with people in today's society all over the world because they don't understand what a good education really looks like.
Exactly. That's such an important issue to address because to put it simply, our educational system is just fucked up. It's just teaching the wrong things and the wrong approach in so many ways, and it just needs to completely remodel itself from the base. Yeah. So I'm so happy you addressed this. Ever since you interviewed me in Berlin and I told my Vegan Savages about your documentary, I get asked frequently, when is it coming out? Do you have a rough release date in mind?
Yeah, this is a question I get all the time, and it's like, it gives me some anxiety, to be honest, because I want to get it out ASAP, but it needs to be done right because it's a very important. Yeah, it's a very important project. I ideally want to get it out this summer, but I'm self-funding it. I'm approaching people for funding right now, but I'm really hesitant to receive funding because everybody always has, like, if you get funding, they're like, okay, well, we want to put it here and this is what we want to do with it. So I've had to self-fund it up to this point. So what that means is, like, any money I make, I put into the film. And I've done that for the last 5 years. So if I make, if I have like $5,000 sitting around, I use that to go travel and go film at a certain place. So for me, I have probably about, I would say, like $30,000 to $50,000 left of production that I need to accomplish. And that's money that, along the way of me working, I'm making that money to invest in the film. So I want to get it done by this summer, but if I get to this summer and I don't have what I need, then I'm going to keep going. Yeah. I'm going to keep filming it.
Definitely. Don't rush it. Don't set a date yet because then you get this pressure. Just do it until you're done and satisfied and put it out, and don't set a date. Many of my friends learned that, and I got the learning too of having this release date of something and then this especially when it comes to something like that or a book, it's like there are so many things that you didn't think about and they need to get done. So never make a release date. Only when it's done, then think about that. But wow, so this year probably.
Yeah, this year's the goal.
That's insane.
It's funny because last year I said last year was the goal, but this year it's more realistic because I actually now have a lifestyle in which I can, like, I just got back from China for 10 days filming schools out there. And, I was able to leave here and, we have another videographer that filled in and we have, I could step away for 10 days. So it's, I think as long as I can fit in like one more trip per month, I'll be on pace to.
How many more trips do you think you need to go?
I probably have like another 6 trips.
Oh, wow. So
but a lot of those are US.
Okay.
So some of those I can fit 2 or 3 in per month. And that means like I'm pretty flexible.
I've no doubt this documentary will hit hard, especially with your network you have. It's just, so many influential people, and if they just promote a bit, and it's so many people also approach me like, how do you do that in school? And I'm so frustrated. I want to follow my highest excitement. That is my passion, but I just cannot because I have to study this and I'm so not interested in that. I'm like, I feel you. I couldn't go back to college or high school or anything. I would because of the mindset I have now, following my passions, becoming my true natural self, what everyone should do, follow their passions, just being forced to learn some things, and often that doesn't even you just know it doesn't make sense to learn that. Like wasting 2 years to learn Spanish even though you don't want to. So you waste your time because you know a couple sentences then, but you could, that's just.
I think for the vegan savages that are out there listening, if you are questioning whether or not you should go to college or to pursue something after school, I would just caution you to spend money on something that you're unsure of. Like, that's just investing 101. Like, if we were taught actual, real, financial, legitimate business advice in school, 95% of us wouldn't go to college because of how poor of an investment decision it is. Like, here in the United States, I can't speak fully for other countries, but here in the United States, you go to college, and then once you get there, it's like kind of like partying all the time. Like, everybody's partying
and wasting money.
And usually, if your parents are paying for you to go there, your parents are going into debt, or you're going into debt, and you're going there to party. Like, why not use that time to really put yourself out there and figure out what you want to do? Like, use the years, the 3 to 4 years or more, 4 to 5 to 10 years that you would go to a college education or a university. Use those to go into the real world and start trying things out. Like, maybe you're like, hey, I would like to be a photographer. Go all in, and if you get to a point where you're like, I don't like this, well, maybe along the way you discovered film, and you're like, ooh, let me try film. And then you're like, wow, I really love this. But then maybe a year from then you're like, nah, I don't really like this. I do want to try podcasts because I have an audience now. Oh, okay, podcasts. Yeah, it's working. I'm doing it. It's like, it's a process of evolution. And education it should never be so rigid. And I think in our minds, when you hear education, you think of a classroom, or like you think of a building, you think of an institution. But really what education means is it's a process of developing from within. It comes from the Greek Latin word educa, which means to draw out from within. That's what education means. That's what it's by definition. So if education means we have something inside of us that we need to learn how to draw out, we need to get it out of us, then how does it make sense to go to a school for 20 years of our life where there's somebody in front of the classroom forcing things in? It's the exact opposite. So it's sad because, we have a lot of kids out there, a lot of young people out there that are listening to this or watching our content, and they're frustrated because they are receiving 100 times better of an education through YouTube or through listening to a podcast like this. They're learning more in an hour than they could in an entire semester, but yet they're paying tens of thousands of dollars for that one semester. It's the biggest scam. It's the biggest, education is such a corrupt industry because these institutions and these people are making billions of dollars from having young people go to their schools. But in all reality, they don't need to go to those schools to get the best education. The best education can be, I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to go figure out how to live in a different country. You're going to receive a better education doing that than you would go into school. That's real life. You're actually
real life shit. Couldn't agree more. And just in your room, just internet, you can teach yourself everything. And you just explained it so well, especially in the US, because it costs so much money. That's the thing. It is, you go in high debt and you just then bound to the system because you need to repay. And not like a couple thousands, 10, 20, 30, 40,000. So in the US, I only recommend studying if it's mandatory. Like you want to become a lawyer, you just need to study. You want to become a doctor, you just need to study. But for most new jobs that are popping out, there's not even a field you can study. And often it's so outdated, not practical, then I highly recommend against it if it's so expensive.
Can I say something controversial that a lot of people disagree with?
Okay.
Potentially. I think a lot of people agree with it too. I think there's a lot of kids out there that come to me and they say, my parents want me to go to college. I don't want to go, but I feel like I need to go because my parents are forcing me to go. And my advice that I would give to those kids is, if you don't want to go, if you're not fully confident in why you need to go to college, don't go. I don't care what your parents say. I don't care what anybody says. Do not go. It is your life, It is not your parents' life. And at some point, you're going to have to grow up and make decisions on your own. So if you have the ability to listen to this right now, if your parents are forcing you to go do something and you don't want to do it, don't do it.
That's a huge fact. And also ask yourself, do you want to be like your parents? And often you don't. Then why should you do the same?
Right.
So
yeah, your parents, you have to forgive them. They want the best out of they're telling you something because they want the best out of you. They want the best for you. And unfortunately, they're not an expert in everything. But they're parents, so they feel the need to control every situation. So would you go to a doctor for financial advice? No. Would you go to someone who's in finance to get your brain checked out or your heart checked out? No. They're specialists. Your parents don't know everything.
By far.
So don't listen to everything they say.
Yes, and I experienced exactly that. Like, I didn't and don't pay much attention to what I study, and I focused on what I do. And my family and my mom was really against it, because like, oh no, you need to study, you need to stay in school. And now that I become successful and earn really good money what I do, she supports it full time.
Yeah.
But you just gotta, as you said it, there was gold.
You gotta have self-discipline though, because if you're gonna branch out and you're gonna do your own thing, you can't just dick around and play video games and smoke weed in your apartment. Like, you gotta go and do something. You gotta read books. You gotta figure out what is going on in the world, what kind of skills are needed. Like, you gotta find an opportunity. And I learned something really valuable recently where, I'm always big about like, hey, you gotta find your passion. Find something you're passionate about. We hear thousands of these entrepreneurs and these mentors telling us, find something you're passionate about. But I think you got to go a step further, because you could be really passionate about video games, but if you're not very good at it and if there's not an opportunity for you there, then it's a waste of time. And I think there's a lot of people that are wasting time because they're not thinking about passion and their future in a holistic, realistic, like applicable way. So opportunity is the key. If you can train yourself to find opportunity, which is all around us at all times, it will never go away. Opportunity is around us in abundance. Now, your ability to attach a skill set to that opportunity is the challenge. If you can find something you're passionate about, and then you also find something that the world needs, that's where the two can come together, and that's where you should spend your time. But just don't spend your time only focused on what you're passionate about or only what the world needs. It should be both. You got to spend the time to experience the world, find out what kind of things are going on in the world that you're passionate about, because you'll know. Like, you will actually know, because the way to know is when you do something, does it give you energy or does it take energy away? Because as a filmmaker, there's certain films I work on that are really draining. But then whenever I'm working on my documentary, I am filled with energy because it's a topic and it's a passion that I really resonate with. So I think anybody can do the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's film, it doesn't matter if it's music, it doesn't matter if it's, just working at a 9-to-5 job, like being a waitress, or like, I don't think there's a label for what that is. I think you have to find it.
Yeah, and it's always also flexible. Like, your excitement, your passion is not just one thing, it's many things. And if you don't know what your passions are, just try a lot of things, and soon you will find things that excites you. You go a path and the direction goes clearer and clearer and clearer, and then do the things, as you said, where you can take action on, where you can manifest something, where it goes into a direction that serves you. And it's always flexible. Like, your excitements, your passions, they're always not just one, they're lots of passions, and you find your way and it goes into a direction, and you naturally know what to act on next. So people need to come in the state where they just act on their passions and go in this direction. And 2019, you can make money with everything. So find your direction, find your path, your passions, act on them. And like what I did, my mom was like, how do you make money out of it? Watch me. Like, now I do. And
when I think what you're doing too, which I really admire, is and what we've been talking about through the beginning of this podcast is, veganism isn't, in my opinion, isn't the answer. I think it's
the minimum we could do. It's what we build on it.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's also something that can unlock energy.
Yes.
Like it can it can take, like, if you have the ability to remove an obstacle out of the way in your future, you're going to do it every time. You're going to say, "Oh, yeah, I want the path of least resistance." If you find a clear road, the last thing you're going to do is fill that road with a bunch of shit that you have to overcome. Like, you have a clear path, stick to that path. What we do, because of lack of education, with our diet, is we cut our lives short because of the things we eat, the things we consume. So that's where I think veganism or plant-based lifestyles, that's where I think they come into play, is by just helping people unlock more of their potential. And because you can't access your full potential if your heart is unhealthy, or if your brain is unhealthy, or if your gut is unhealthy. You can't. You got to have the mind, the body, and the spirit all in alignment. And that's why health and what we're putting into our bodies is equally as important as the thoughts that we're choosing to think. It all comes full circle.
Amen, brother. That was great. And shout outs to my mom. She's great, and now she supports me super well, and she only wanted the best for me, so I'm not hating on my mom. But
Thanks, Mom.
Yep, shout outs to all the mom. But that what you just said was epic. So now we're already coming to the end. I'm super stoked for your documentary and cannot wait to spread it like crazy and see the impact it will have. So I really, and then other people see it, make more stuff about it, awareness just out there.
I just a note for anybody that is that's asked me about the film or sent these questions in. I think the thing, I'm really hesitant to ask for favors from people, but the one favor I will ask is share that film.
Yes.
I've put in a lot of work into this, and a lot of other people have, but this is a story that I think, as youth all around the world, I think we have the opportunity to work together to fix education. I think education is a subject that should be something that is the most important thing that we tackle as a human civilization, not as countries. Like, I think this is a subject we can all come together on, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever disabilities you have, whatever opportunities you're blessed with at birth. This is something that should be treated equally. And I think if we all come together and we share this topic and these stories, we're capable of changing quite a few things on this planet.
Yes, and just sharing seems so easy, but it has such a profound impact because you just shared with your best friends, they listen to it, they shared with their friends, and they shared, and this guy reaches 11 million people and he shares it, and boom, and it started because you shared it with this friend, that friend. So all right, so coming to an end, you're living in the Maverick House, and first of all, how many people do really live here?
So we have 5 roommates. We have 5 people living full-time.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Seems like because there's so many people around, but they're not living here.
Yeah, we have a lot of people coming in and out throughout the day.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, just five people.
So you, full-time. Mike, Logan, what's his name? Andre.
Yeah, and then we have Jacob out back. Oh, Evan. So we have 6 actually right now. We have somebody living in the guest house.
Who's that?
Jacob. He's a music producer from Sweden.
Oh, sweet.
He's insane. He's awesome.
So now, how is it like living in the Maverick House?
Dude, it's awesome. Honestly, it's awesome. Like, it's funny because this kind of goes back to our whole conversation. But when I was young, I don't remember what grade I was in. But when I was a young kid, I always used to watch Rob Dyrdek. I don't know if you know who that is.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
His Factory.
Yeah, Fantasy Factory, Robin Big, like MTV. I grew up on that, and I used to watch Fantasy Factory, and I was like, damn, that would be so cool to live in a house, or a factory, and just create content with your best friends and like entertain people and be funny. And that was a dream of mine, I think, as a kid, where I was like, wow, that's possible? Like, I could do that? And I think that's really what sparked my interest in film. That's where I was like, okay, film I don't know what it is, but there's something about it where it's drawing me there. And so, to answer your question, the Maverick House is it's kind of like a fantasy factory. It's a little bit different, obviously, in its own way, which is great because it should be unique. It shouldn't be the same thing. But it's young people. It's a group of young people that we didn't grow up with, but we all moved out to LA and we all met each other in crazy ways, and we all came together and we're like, yo, we could make content together, team up, and literally create something together. And if we all go all in on it, it's going to be something that like a lot of people will enjoy and a lot of people will have fun watching. So yeah, this house is it's a blessing, man. Yeah. I really, every day I wake up, I'm like, I have made it a habit to just look around and just be grateful for everything.
That's epic, and you should be, because it's so great and also so inspiring that I tell you that off the podcast because I don't want to tell it yet, but I'm creating something with my friends, maybe like that way.
Yeah.
Because I just for this month being in Bali, surrounded with my friends, living in a villa, just each one creates content together. Just this space, this nice vibes. Everyone does like their own thing, but just this together, like-minded people constantly around you just makes you feel whole and like.
I think you're gonna find a lot of just inspiration through doing that. I think where it's cool to see young people like yourself doing that, and me and the whole crew here, we're all living together. I think we're really, as a generation, we're starting to rethink the traditional structures of how life should be. Because, you know, I'm 26. Like, I know a lot of 26-year-olds who already have kids. They're already settling down. Like, Mike's in his 30s. Like, we kind of, like, realized, okay, we don't have to live that traditional lifestyle. Like, we could live together and, like, be homies and, you know, create content. We can do this, and then when we're in our 30s or along the way, you find a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, and you're able to experience that lifestyle. And so I think I'm excited because I think young people are really starting to wake up, and they're starting to like just change the whole structures. We're starting to redefine what's acceptable and what's okay. And I think our parents were a little more rigid, and now kids now are like, yeah, do what you want to do, you know. I think that's just a really cool thing to observe.
It is. Breaking out of the system and be a fucking maverick.
Be a maverick, baby.
Or a vegan savage.
Both of them, bro.
Yep.
Maverick and vegan savage, those two coming together, that's clutch.
Someone asked, does he argue a lot with Logan?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, not at all. Logan and I get along really well. I think everybody in the house does. I think we all get along really well. I think there's definitely moments where we have creative disagreements, or like, you know, I might think something's dope, and then Mike might, or Logan might think something else is cool, and what I think is cool, they don't even think about. So I think what we've learned to do is that every single person in the house has a different way of living and a different thing that they think is cool. And so what's powerful is our ability to work together and to understand that, hey, you know, Mike has fun doing that, even though I wouldn't have fun doing that. I'm going to support him having fun doing that. So it's a very supportive environment. If it wasn't, it wouldn't work out. You know, I wouldn't be here for a year, and I wouldn't want to be here for another year.
Yeah.
Like, it just wouldn't be fun. Like, if you have a bad roommate, like, I'm sure a lot of people have been there, you don't want to be around that person. Like, you're like, yo, this dude sucks.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about it. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and then admiring that everyone is different, and then the beauty it brings together, like new ideas you didn't think about, and supporting their ways and what they're creating, supporting each other. And I see that, and that's great to hear. And another one asked, do fans often show up in front of your house?
Yeah, so we do. We in the summer, there are more fans that start rolling by. We're pretty against that, because some of them are very intrusive, and they'll come up to the gate and like be peeking in, and Yeah, it's tough because like you try to appreciate, you know, they're genuinely fans, and so it's hard to be disrespectful to them. But I think that's a conversation we actually been having a lot this past week. Is there's some fans that are just too aggressive, and I think we're trying to like communicate that message to them that it's not okay to show up to the house. Like,
yeah, totally.
If you see us in public, like, we will take a photo 10 times out of 10. And we'll talk to the fans, and we'll communicate with them, and we'll interact. But if you're going to pull up to the house, like, I know people are raised differently. Some people don't think that's a bad thing because we even get parents showing up here. But yeah, just don't do it.
No, definitely. Your house, that's like your home. That's your sacred place. And this just feels like intruders.
Yeah.
So don't do that, especially if you like that person.
Yeah.
Just give him the privacy, and yeah. So.
One thing I learned through experience is the people that you really look up to, like the celebrities or whatever. If you're meant to meet that person, it'll happen.
Exactly.
If you have to go out of your way to force it, then you're like, I'm a huge proponent of force negates. Like, force does, like, if you force something on somebody, it does the opposite. So learn how to, like, if you want to meet somebody, like, I'm sure for you, like, you probably would have loved to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then finally, you know, you're in the same gym as him. And I think some people need to go that extra step and, like, get a photo with that person, but at the end of the day, like, appreciate that you're there. And if the opportunity opens up to talk, do it.
But also be a vegan savage and make your own luck, but not in front of the door. But for example, like my vegan savages do, send me a DM. Hey, you want to ride a Tesla? I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Hey, I show you Malibu. Hey, I'm down. Or hey, I'm making a meet and greet. Make your own luck. Go there.
Yeah.
But don't go to the house. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be a creepy guy. But also make your own luck. Like, make these possibilities happen.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, that's all right. The last 3 questions I always ask my guests at the end of the podcast. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
You don't have to that impulsive. You should have like a question you ask everyone.
Yeah. Oh, we kind of do. We sprinkle some like standard questions in, but we try to keep it impulsive. We try to keep it all over the place.
That's true. What scares you?
Ooh, what scares me? I would say what scares me is that I won't, like, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, will I feel accomplished? Like, will I feel like I did everything that I wanted to do? How I've dealt with that fear, or that, like, what scares me, is I use that as motivation. Like, I use that as, okay, today's another opportunity to do something that I'm gonna look back on and learn from, or be happy that I did. So I kind of use my fears to push me to do more than I normally would.
That's good. Best advice you've ever received that comes to your mind right now?
Ooh. What was I saying earlier? Oh, we were talking about this on the podcast recently, and it's been a theme. I really believe it's important to receive, to learn how to receive. I think a lot of people are very closed off to receiving, and I still deal with it, but I've learned how to manage it. Where a lot of times somebody will offer you something, and you'll be like, no, I can't do that. And then there's some other people who just receive everything, and they're not grateful for it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a way to receive that can help you in life, and I think it's a subject I can't fully speak on, but I just think if somebody's giving you love and appreciation, just learn how to, like, receive it. Learn how to, like, take it in and appreciate it. Don't let it boost your ego, but just receive it. And then if someone's offering you financial benefits through a job, or, like, they're offering you a financial, check for, like, work that you've done or whatever it is, like, receive it.
You know, if you've put in work, then you need to receive something that compensates you. But if you don't receive, then you're going to always be constantly trying to like get it from somewhere else. And I think that's where a lot of the issues with social media come from, is like people haven't learned how to just receive love. They're always constantly seeking more of it.
Yeah, well said. And the last one, what is the future of veganism?
Ooh. I think the future...
You know what James Espy said? Well, domination, baby.
Yeah. As
a joke, but kind of true, but like...
Yeah, I think the future of veganism can go a lot of different ways. I think the undeniable truth of it is that it's growing. It's growing exponentially.
Crazy.
So I think veganism is going to become something very common, and I think the stigmas around veganism being a weak thing, or like you're you know, for lack of better words, you're a pussy if you go vegan. Like I know a lot of guys say that, and girls too. But I think that's going to go away. I think the more athletes that come up and the more success stories and the more legislation that passes, I think people are just going to start to become more educated about it. So I see the future of veganism going that way, and I really am excited to contribute to that, because I feel like with education that if we incorporated more like teaching our youth about veganism at an early age, I think kids would look at meat and be like, that's disgusting. Because it's like, it's funny because I hear people like, I have a vegan burger, and they're like, ew, what's in that? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, look at your burger.
Tendons,
yeah,
like from and then it's just plants.
Like I'm eating
peas,
plants.
Yeah,
I'm eating like literally plant protein, and you're eating like ground up beef that you don't even know what's in it. Like, I think that goes to show the education that we grew up with. Like, we were given chicken nuggets when we were really little, or like a burger when we were really little, and we didn't even have the cognitive ability to assess where that came from. So I think once that transition happens, where parents are giving their kids vegan food, and then their kid is growing up, that child is going to be a vegan activist in their own way. They might not be a James Aspie, but they're going to be someone who's like, yo, I'm gonna bring veganism to more people.
Yeah, well said. I also see a super optimistic future and just growing like crazy. So thank you so much for being...
Thank you, man.
You just so many fact bombs, and how knowledgeable you are about education, and that you're using this. I just heard it, how passionate you are about this topic, and I'm just so happy that you act on your passion and manifest something that great, and that it's just insane for me that you literally worked 5 years on that. Imagine you started working on that, you weren't even vegan.
Yeah.
So that just makes me so happy that it comes to fruition soon, and I'm just plugging the shit out of that. And yeah, I hope we hang out in the future more often.
Definitely.
And I think we can learn a lot from each other about different things we're more knowledgeable about, like different things we're doing. So maybe in Bali at the end of the year, we will see.
Definitely. One thing I gotta say is to your following, the Vegan Savages. Like, I love the movement that you're creating, because I think the term vegan savage to me is like someone who embraces the fact that, like, yo, I'm not weak, I'm strong, I'm gonna go out there and fucking do it, and I don't care what people say, I don't care what people do. I'm a savage, I'm a vegan savage, I'm a conscious savage, because I really just encourage everybody out there to just dig deep within yourself, no matter what you got to do to get there. Find something that brings you joy and go beast mode. Like do things that you didn't think were possible. Push yourself. Try something different. Always strive to find your groove, and the only way you're going to do that is if you're a true savage and you're willing to go to whatever length to make that happen.
Exactly as you said it. It's like being a maverick, but we let the compassion out, and we let the healthy lifestyle choices rule, but we make them cool. We go our own way, but we do it the compassionate way, and we make all these things cool. Like, using less plastic, just getting your sleep in, meditating, exercising, eating healthy, making these healthy lifestyle choices cool to thrive for, and crushing it. Not, oh, I'm vegan now, I'm a weak bitch. No, I'm crushing it in life and I'm embracing it. To be vegan, that's why I'm a vegan savage. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for understanding that.
Dude, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Follow Spencer on Instagram. There he keeps you up to date, especially in the stories. You know what's up. And yeah, when the documentary is out, I'll let you know. It will be all over. And listen to Impaulsive, James Espy. And yeah, you will get something out of. Oh, especially at the end, the audio-only version, when he talked about his past, like this dude, where he comes from, how he turned his life around. I'm not giving it away. Listen to it, honey. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Peace.
Love you guys.
Out.